Welcome back to our wild backyard. I'm your host, Jennifer McLaughlin. I'm so excited to have South Dakota State University Horticulturist Tanner Aiken here to talk about cottonwood trees. Tanner has worked in the tree care and green industry in a variety of roles since 2010 and holds an ISA Certified Arborist credential and tree risk assessment qualification. He has experience with tree removal, planting, pruning, value appraisal, and is co-owner of a small tree care company in Brookings, South Dakota. For the past 13 years, Tanner has planned the urban tree plantings at South Dakota State University, focusing on species diversity and preserving the existing trees at SDSU, some of which are over 140 years old. Welcome, Tanner, to our wild backyard. We're excited to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
If a cottonwood is not producing seeds, describe how to identify a cottonwood tree in a minute or less.
Oh, yeah. The leaves. We'll start with the leaves. So the leaves is it's kind of like a heart shape, except it doesn't have the two lobes on top. Okay, so it looks kind of like a lance head or like an arrowhead. They have teeth along the margin. The margin is the outside silhouette of the leaf. It's going to have little teeth that go all the way. And the tip of the leaf is going to have a little bit of a curl to it. Those leaves are going to be arranged on the twig in an alternate pattern. There'll never be two leaves coming out at the base of one another.
Okay, so it's one leaf, space, another leaf, space, another leaf. Okay.
Yep. If there are no leaves, the buds are very large, cinnamon, yellow, amber-colored buds. And they're sharp. They're very sharp. But the bark is like dusty gray. I'm probably over a minute now. The bark is like a dusty gray.
We'll let you go 2 minutes.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I could talk about cottonwoods all day. And deeply furrowed bark. The leaves are very glossy, like a shined leather almost. And this is the one. This is what I'll go over time for. Just like a quaking aspen, the leaves kind of flutter in the wind. The cottonwood does the same thing. It's got what's called a keeled petiole, like the keel on a boat. And so it's almost like a rudder shape for the petiole. And that grabs wind as it passes, and it flicks the leaf. And so when it's windy, the cottonwood, as professors in my past have said, it sounds like a water fountain or like a waterfall, like trickling water. It's very pleasant.
That's right. You do really see those cottonwoods shake, even if there's not any wind. And usually we have wind here in the Midwest, but every once in a while it's calm and they'll still be moving.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good way, a good indication. If it's a really big tree and it sounds like running water, it's probably a cottonwood.
I don't feel like we could talk about cottonwoods with going into detail about their seeds, since that's how we all know cottonwoods. So when do they produce, and do all cottonwoods produce seeds?
Yeah, it's a good question. Early summer for us here. There's probably some regional variability to that. All cottonwoods do not produce cotton. So poplars, well, cottonwood at least, is going to have female plants and male plants. So it's going to have the separate flowers on each tree. And so it is approximately 50% are going to be cotton producing, and the others are not cotton producing.
If a cottonwood could pick where it lived, where would it choose and what conditions does it like?
Yeah. So cottonwood is a riparian forest species. So for a cottonwood being alongside of a river, a creek, some sort of a flowing body of water, a flowing and flooding body of water is ideal. That is home for a cottonwood.
Why do they like riparian areas?
Yeah. So cottonwoods have evolved to put out the lovely cotton seed. Thousands and thousands and thousands of seeds come off of them. not all those live. They need to land on generally sand or a bare kind of a sandbar, basically. And that is the ideal spot for those to sprout. And so that's why you see them down there.
So I'm thinking about their root system. Do they have a taproot system or do they have a spread out root system since they're along riverbanks?
Yeah, it's a spread out root system. The majority of trees are going to have, studies vary from number to number, but call it about 95% of their roots are in the upper 3% or the upper 3 feet of soil. Now, a lot of that's going to be dependent on the soil structure, and because they're air limited, not really water limited. It's oxygen they're after. And so if you have really well drained soil, they could be deeper, but generally they're not. And so, they have a spreading root system to kind of get some structure in those kind of loose, sandy soils.
I didn't realize that, the top 3 feet for most root systems.
Oh, then you would be amazed to know how far they go outward.
All right.
Yeah.
Give us the data.
It's about 1.5 times the height of the tree.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so, and again,
and they can grow about, is it like 65 to 100 feet?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cottonwoods, 100 plus. Yeah. So the roots can grow quite a ways out. Now, the majority of roots are going to be underneath the drip line. If you look at roots by mass, it's going to be closer to the tree. But yeah, absolutely. You're going to have fine roots that go out about 1.5 times the tree's height, diameter.
That is crazy.
Yeah, radius, sorry. Yeah, each way.
What wildlife do they
oh my gosh,
help?
So much. So I have a cottonwood right now, and I'll try not to like stream of consciousness this, but I'm going to tell you all the animals I see in my cottonwood. I have a wood duck nest. I have wood ducks that pop out, 7 little wood ducks each year. I will have bald eagles in my tree, at least for a week or so. You have mammals too, right? So you're going to squirrels. Love cottonwoods. So I'm rich in squirrels. You can have some if you'd like. Birds, right? See all kinds of different birds. It's really nice. We enjoy it, right? We take the trade-off. I have to rake leaves all the time. I'm always raking leaves. But I'll take it, right? I get to see little wood ducks running around my yard.
That's incredible. So just those species that you listed, I'm picturing that your tree is providing both shelter and food.
Yeah, mostly shelter. So yeah, you get a lot of these crevices. So yeah, anything can live inside that. There's a petiole leaf gall. It develops in the petiole of the leaf, so it kind of uses the tree's defenses to its benefit. It burrows in or it's deposited into the petiole, and then the petiole kind of swells in that area where this little insect is developing. It causes the leaves to fall off early, the ones that are infected. So remember when I said I'm raking leaves all the time?
Yeah.
That's because I have two fall leaf drops. I've got the late summer petiole gall drop off, and it's not bad every year. I'm making it sound like the worst thing in the world. It's really not, but it's crazy. You pick these leaves up and you can break this petiole right at the swell, and it kind of looks like the tissues inside of an apple. It's somewhere between like woody and fleshy tissues.
Okay.
And then there's like a little hollow, and there was a little insect developing in there. And it is harmless as far as tree health goes. It's more of an oddity than anything, but kind of neat. Pollinators. They're wind pollinated, right? So you don't have pollinators visiting the flowers and doing the busy work of making seeds. You don't really have nectar, but you do have resin. The male flowers, the staminate flowers, are very resinous. and bees will gather that resin and use it as a sort of glue to put hives together.
Oh, interesting.
I know this is the case with European honeybees, which are not native, but we have a lot of people that raise honeybees in South Dakota. Very, very popular. As far as our native bees go, I cannot confirm whether or not they use this resin in the same manner. I'm not going to speculate, but they could. They could. There, I speculated
We'll
for you.
watch them this summer and see if they grab any. You've worked with a lot of different tree species in your career. Tell us a little bit about the wood of cottonwood trees.
Something that's super interesting is when you're cutting cottonwood, it is tremendously heavy. When that dries out, it's remarkably lightweight. And so this got me curious, and I looked at green weight versus dry weight charts, which are out there for a lot of tree species. Cottonwood, 51% around of the weight of a log of cottonwood, as you cut it off the tree, green weight we call it, is water. So it's actually over half the weight of the green wood is water. You dry it out, it'll weigh less than half of what it did, more than half of what it did.
That's crazy. So is the wood really brittle then when it's dried because you have all that space where the water's evaporated?
Yeah, there's a lot of shrinkage. 13-14% is pretty typical, so it's not very stable. So if you cut a green cottonwood down and you were so inclined that you rushed it to your sawmill and you slabbed a bunch of boards and you went, oh my gosh, that's going to look so beautiful when it dries, and you stacked it, you would come back and it would be warped all over the place and twisty, twirly, I'm sure. If you dried it as a whole log, I don't know. I don't know what you'd get.
There are many tree species that are facing struggles right now from insects and diseases. How is the cottonwood population doing? Is there any disease or insect threat to them? And is there anything that we humans can do to help them?
Yeah, so I'll start with diseases, and then maybe talk about a wider kind of ecological threat. So diseases, no, not especially. Cottonwoods, they've been around for a long time, but that's not to say we couldn't get one. Poplars has nearly a global distribution, right? There's poplars in Europe and Asia as well, and so there could be pests on other continents that have had geographic separation with our poplars for so long that they're tolerant to whatever tiny little bug that causes no problem for them when it's in its geographical range and it's feeding on the plants it co-evolved with, and then that bug jumps over to North America or vice versa, and those trees have no evolved defenses. That's when we see problems like emerald ash borer, right? It's the case in point. And so the answer to your question is no, not yet. But, the potential is always there. The big threat for cottonwood right now, in an ecological sense, is I will call it the altering of the riparian ecosystem. And that's mainly from controlled water release dams along the Missouri and elsewhere, causes heartache for cottonwoods.
Okay. Our river systems just aren't as healthy as cottonwoods.
Yeah, well, they don't flood anymore.
Okay.
Regularly. They do still flood, but it's generally a very big deal if they do, because we acquire more and more land in fertile river bottoms, right? It's great farmland. It's good tree growing land too, or it was. And so if those rivers can't flood and can't deposit sand and silt, well, it's tough for cottonwoods to spread their seed and make new trees. Cottonwoods are interesting if you looked at a mature cottonwood forest down in the Cheyenne River Valley. If you walked through those big cottonwoods, you would expect to see little cottonwoods coming up, right? Because, it sustains itself, but it doesn't, right? They don't. There are not little cottonwood saplings in these established forests for whatever reason. And there's some researchers that have speculated why that is. So they don't self-sustain. They have to have these sandbars or these regularly flooding areas in order to establish these new populations.
What is it about that flooding that helps the cottonwoods?
Yeah. Well, I think it's first the new depositing sand and silt. No vegetation on it. It's going to be moist, right? So it's great germination. And I think just no competition. Just bare soil, no competition.
Interesting.
So that's the biggest threat to cottonwoods right now is we don't have annual regular flooding of waterways.
Due to the managed water systems that we have to decrease flooding for human purposes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, dam structures. And that's just what it is. As you develop more and more land, you run out of space. And now there are a lot of homes and things built in those areas. We probably shouldn't just knock all the dams down. That'd be bad. But it's tough to ignore that, that is a threat to cottonwood. It's a big threat.
It's a good thing to think about as we plan our cities and plan our communities.
Yeah.
Of how we mitigate both the things we need for our communities, but also for the natural community as well. I want to step away from cottonwoods for a brief moment and talk about trees in general. With all your work at South Dakota State University with increasing tree diversity, I'd be really amiss if I didn't ask you about it.
Yeah.
Can you describe briefly why having a wide variety of tree species is so important?
We get a ton of pressure from both native and non-native pests, right? Whether it be Dutch elm disease, right? For an invasive pest, came through in the 70s and just completely wiped out elms. Emerald ash borer right now, it's coming through and it's wiping out all of our ash trees. Before both of those, it was chestnut blight, which wiped out all the American chestnut or pretty close to all the American chestnut. And you kind of see a theme that runs through all those invasive pests is that they're kind of a specialist that exploits one single species or one specific genus of trees. And that's not uncommon, right? And so after chestnut blight, we didn't really learn our lesson, right? Or we didn't think maybe it could come to the urban forest. We didn't think that far ahead. We planted a ton of elms because elms are extremely tough. They're great trees. They grow anywhere. They're awesome. They're huge. Everybody loves them. They're very long-lived. Dutch elm disease comes, it kills all the elms. And so what do? We planted a bunch of ash trees. Just couldn't quite take, the lessons learned and apply it. And now we're losing all of our ash trees. And so finally, kind of as an industry, us tree people are looking inward and we're saying, okay, this will be the time that we learn our lesson. Let us stop planting, pretty much only one species because it's tough and because everybody likes it. And so now the recommendations are no more. It shifts a little bit. It gets a little bit tighter each time. So I'm gonna say it as I use it right now. No more than about 2% of any one species. This is of all the trees planted. Okay, so you just look at all the trees planted. For a homeowner, you might look at all the trees on your block, on your city block. Yeah, you could count all those and do kind of a species distribution, chart them also. Of all the trees that you count on your city block, no more than 2% should be of any one species. No more of 5% should be from any one genus, and no more than 10% should be from any one family.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, it's, like I said, it's aggressive. So really, really pushing diversity.
The variety and the diversity of the trees helps with the general resilience of the trees.
Yeah.
Less disease
Of the-
susceptibility.
Of the whole canopy. And that's how we like to look at it, is it's an urban forest. And so you want to look at it as kind of an ecosystem. Can I give you one more reason to plant? Great. Diversity. In 2022, we had the derecho up here in Brookings. And I think it was more regionally widespread. It came through in May-ish timeline. The only trees around that had leaves to catch all that wind were our spruce trees and our pine trees. And it absolutely leveled most of the spruce trees on campus. And so I walked around for weeks cataloging damage and losses to our urban forest here on campus. And as I walked around, it was so hard not to keep thinking about this is a diversity problem, right? To lose this many of one type of tree, and it's not to a pest, right? That was just to a storm. And so to me, it was an aha moment. It's not just invasive pests. It's not just, even native pests getting out of control. It's weather too. If you have an abnormally hot and dry year and all you have are sugar maples.
Sure.
Okay. They're going to stress, right? And so you want to you want to limit the liability of any one species. There are communities in South Dakota that have, approaching 80% ash trees.
Oh, no.
For their street trees. Yeah, absolutely. And so emerald ash borer, that's why it's a problem. Emerald ash borer would be so much less of an issue if we only had 5% of all of our trees being ash. It would still be a bummer. I mean, it would still not be a good thing. You're looking at losing your ash, but it's 5% of your trees, right? We can get through this. Yeah, the reason it's an issue is because it is 50, 60, 70, 80% of all of your trees are ash. That's the problem.
And then when one goes, or when the emerald ash borer comes, they all go. So you lose all your trees at once.
You lose them all. You lose them all. And so yeah, that's why it's important. Diversity is important.
Well, as a wrap up here, Tanner, anything about cottonwoods that we haven't covered yet that you want to talk about?
I think if I can make one more sell on cottonwoods, I think if the homeowners listening to this took a look at their property and really looked at it with an eye for how do I fit a cottonwood in here, I think you can do it. I think you can do it. Yeah, I don't. You don't have to plant them over your house or over your car or anything like that, and you won't regret it.
If you're gonna have wood ducks living in your tree, raccoons, what more could you ask for, right?
And this is not a tree that is endangered by any means, but it's a tree that's rapidly losing its native ecosystem. And so there's just going to be fewer and fewer of them out there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been great, Tanner. Thank you so much for talking with us today and convincing us all that cottonwoods are good.
I tried.
Yeah. I'm convinced. I'm sure we got some other listeners convinced as well. So.
Good. The nurseries are going to be calling me. They're going to be like, everybody is asking for cottonwoods. What did you do? I'm not. You'll say, I'm not ordering cottonwoods. But that's how change starts. Yeah, starts with y'all.
It does. It does. Thanks for listening. If you have questions about flora or fauna species you see in your backyard, please email them to info@ourwildbackyard.org, and it may just be answered on an upcoming episode. Until next time, take care and enjoy nature in your neighborhood.